Boom. I am rolling. We are rolling. Dude, I can't stop looking at your hair. It's fucking awesome.
Isn't it great? Yeah.
It's
really funny because we're both friends with Bryan Callen.
Right.
From The Fighter and the Kid, and I think he's on a TV show. I don't know what he does. But he's hair obsessed.
Because he's got none.
Is that what it is? And every time I talk to him, his eyes fade up to my hair, and I'm like, you're making me uncomfortable. It's making me uncomfortable.
We should have actually had him on, but I wanted to show about you. We'll do another one. I think you might have been too intimidated. What do you think of his boxing skill?
No
one's going to see this, just millions of people.
No, I give him an A for
effort, trying.
Yeah, his enthusiasm is there, but it's misplaced. He does it periodically, and he could throw a punch. He's an athlete, but he's not. He's not a fighter. He's not. Nor am I. I've had fights and stuff, but I still don't consider myself a fighter because I have friends that are fighters, and it would be an insult to call myself a fighter. But Bryan loves fighters, and he loves Navy SEALs, and he
does love Navy SEALs. If he could marry Andy Stump, he would marry.
He would. I know. But he's my best friend, and I love him, and I support him in all his endeavors.
Right. It was very cute the day he was showing Sugar Ray Leonard the left hook.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. And I could see every fighter going, do you understand this guy won 5 world titles? And
that's what I love about Bryan. He's like really, he knows the basic, and he really doesn't even know the basic fundamentals of how to throw a proper left hook. And yet he's got the audacity to stand there with Ray Leonard. And so I love him. It's great. It's
so funny.
He was a world champion fighter and a Navy SEAL who saved the United States from peril.
That's his ultimate role.
Right.
If he's going to write a movie, that's who he comes back as. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your talk. I want to talk a little bit about like the whole pandemic and stuff a little bit, and then I want to get into stuff. But how are you doing personally through this?
I'm doing really well. As you see, my son is here. My other 2 sons are getting dropped off here, or I'm going to get them. I'm a single dad now, so I have the responsibility of making sure my kids are constantly moving. Right. So I'm good at. We're going to go biking later. Remy and I trained this morning in the park with my trainer. We boxed for a couple of hours. I cut his hair. I'm hanging out. I'm drinking wine. I got a lot going on. My partner and I have a production company. We have 2 movies that are ready to go as soon as this is lifted out in Puerto Rico. So I got to tell you, it's been therapeutic and meditative for me.
Nice.
And aside from the obvious tragedies of people losing their lives, for me, it's kind of been an eye-opening experience in a good way.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I want to talk about is like, what were some of like if you were going to make a list, what are the best things about this? Because it did have like for me, I was in the brink of losing my business and had to pivot. Like all of my training was law enforcement, military live training. We canceled 15 of those. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars of like just stops like this.
Right.
As a boutique company. But all of the stuff that I had to build to create a new audience and maintain relevancy are things I should have been doing before and will continue after. So it's been very productive. But for you said meditative and more spiritual. What are the things you got out of this?
Well, for me, again, I'm a single dad now. So my time spent with my kids, and this is all very new. My time spent with my 3 sons has been so. I've been so present and available.
Nice.
in a intellectual way, in a spiritual way, in an emotional way, and in a physical way that I have not been prior. I'm always working, or I would rely on, my ex-wife to kind of make sure they're okay. They live in a big house in the Palisades. There's a trampoline and a pool. There's a lot of distractions for them. So I didn't have to kind of do, what I thought. I thought they were taken care of.
Right.
But now we're riding bikes. I bought a bunch of canvases. We're painting all the time. We're playing football out front. We're playing soccer. We're having basketball tournaments, the three of us. My three boys and I ride the bikes every Sunday. We do a Sunday dinner, which I used to do as an Italian, obviously. It was a big deal. I started that again. We implemented the Sunday Italian dinner, and everybody's got to stay at the table. So all of that stuff for me as a father has been, I got to tell you, it's been revelatory. It really has. It's changed my relationship with my sons, with myself. It's redefined who I am as a father, which I'm in love with being a father, and I'm almost like you just said. It's like I'm not going back to the old way.
Nice.
I'm really not. And my business has been, look, I probably have gotten 10 movie offers since this started. So just from an acting standpoint, people are still going to make movies.
Right.
And then my partner and I, because we are so focused on what we're going to do next, which is these two films in Puerto Rico, we actually have now gotten involved with Doctors Without Borders. We put a group together, a team, to create protocol for when we go to Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. So every day we're kind of on the forefront of, as far as independent filmmaking, for creating what might be at least one of the protocols to get the movie business, started again.
That's amazing.
So that's been, that's been also a great challenge, and it's been fun.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You said something very interesting as a parent. I'm here. My son lives up in LA, and on occasion trains mine. But my girls are down here, and I've been working harder. I used to think I worked hard before. I've been working harder now, and in some ways, I don't want to say that I'm more distant from them, because I'm like, if I stop, I fall asleep. I've been doing 7 days a week, but I've had to really reinvent stuff.
Right.
We had no online presence in terms of revenue stream or course offerings. So
right.
My team's been amazing, but I've spoken to a lot of people and they've had similar experiences than you, which is fantastic. But you said something very important, and that is that you're committed to not going back. Like how do you do that? Are you just going to bring them on movie sets? When you take off, how are you going to maintain that contact?
Great question. I'll tell you what I am going to do is I'm going to pick and choose the projects that I do accordingly, not knowing now that, it used to be I was married, they were home with my wife, it was just business as usual. I could be away for as long as I wanted. I'm going to be really specific about what I do, where I do it, because what I'm learning now is when we go make movies, it's going to be very similar to a sequestered jury. And there's not going to be a lot of traveling. There's not going to be a lot of visiting. Mm-hmm. So all of those things, at least for the next year, that we got so used to, movie sets go like vacation, family comes and hangs out, or you go home on downtime. That is going to be non-existent. Everyone's going to need to stay at the same place and stay quarantined and stay sequestered from the outside world while you make the movie. So I'm going to really be very diligent about what I do, which I've never really thought about. I just kind of went and did my thing. It was kind of selfish.
Right.
And also, and I don't know if you finding this, the group of people that I want to be around has gotten smaller and smaller as the weeks have passed. And I realized who was important to me and who I was really interested in staying connected to. And so my group has shrunk a bit. And I also don't want to go back to the old ways of going out just to go out, have dinner with people all the time, just to be busy. It's like a dog chasing its tail. Look, the dog who chases its tail is busy all the time, but he never really gets anywhere. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's kind of that LA lifestyle. It's everybody wants to be busy, but what are you really doing?
Right.
You know, it's made me reevaluate that, if
That's
that
not,
makes sense. Yeah.
no, that makes, we've got 5 dogs here, and, every so often they start to chase your tail. Everyone laughs and look, but it's from the outside. The people who get to that epiphany that you just shared, that light
Yeah.
bulb moment, they see the dog chasing the the tail. Everyone else who's there doesn't notice it because everyone's doing it, right? So the
Right.
dog doesn't notice it. No,
Right.
I dig that, and you need to. I was just thinking about, because my one of my big things is studying the psychology of fear and the whole neuroscience around it, and I was thinking that I'm turning 60 this weekend, and
God bless. You look like you're 50.
thank you.
Yeah.
But the it freaks me out. I don't because in my seminars I would tell people, Frank. So there was this 50-year-old old guy at the so when I was 30 I would talk about
I
and
know.
and so psychologically, and you're 55. How old are you?
54. I'll be 55. Yeah.
Um, and and you look like you're 51, so that's awesome. I look 50. But you look like you're 42. You prick. Maybe 38, right? But part of me psychologically is freaked out about the age because I understand the whole hourglass thing. And then I was thinking about all of the things that going back to your chasing your tail, and I look at fear in that realm too. Am I going to make it? It could be, is this relationship going to work out? Are my kids going to turn out? All these things. And I realized that if I still followed this path and got here today, if I changed my relationship with fear and worry back then and still got here, how much more would I have enjoyed life?
Right.
It's
Right. Right. It's interesting because, when you're in Tibet, when you go through the arc, the gates to get in, there's on one side, there's statues on either side, and one is hope and one is fear. And basically it's the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm going to be successful. I'm afraid I'm not going to be successful.
Right.
And you're supposed to leave hope and fear at the gates.
Nice.
Right? Because when you eliminate hope and fear, you eliminate most of your anxiety.
That's
when
heavy.
you're not thinking,
That's
is,
heavy.
but when you're not thinking about the catastrophic future or the grandiose future, that you kind of relax a bit. And what this fucking quarantine has forced us to do in the most meditative way is to fucking be present, is to be now. Mm-hmm. And so you're not thinking about fear of the future, or at least I'm not thinking about fear of the future or hope that this is going to get better. I'm just dealing with whatever's going on in the day.
Nice.
And I've never done that, man. I've never done that. Yeah. I've always been afraid of being alone. And guess what? I met this new dude. I love being with him. It turns out it's me.
Right. That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It turns out it's me.
Dude.
It's crazy.
That was great. It's interesting you brought that up because I've never been a fan of the word hope, because there's an undercurrent of fear hidden inside of the word. I hope
it's the same.
Yeah.
It's one coin. Two sides.
I never heard that. I'm so glad you shared that story because I never had a way to explain it, and now I do. At the end of the day, and what I've been doing during the lockdown is I tell people, my weeks are only 2 days. There's today and tomorrow. I bust my ass today. I think about tomorrow, what I want to accomplish tomorrow, and then it's just repeat.
That's it, man. And by the way, people are like, I can't wait till this is over. I can't wait till this is over. I go, I can't wait till it's over too. Obviously, there's elements of getting back to life that is essential. Earning a living being one of them, right? But I'm like, there's a lot of what my life used to be that I'm not interested in revisiting anymore. And this is, we're in quarantine. It's amazing the lessons we've learned. I don't want to sound hokey because I'm not that guy. But it is an existential experience that we're going through. I really believe that there's something in the universe that said, enough is enough. We're going to reset the entire fucking planet. The entire planet for the first time. Listen, we've been on the earth a long time.
Right.
We're both intelligent guys. For the first time in whatever history I know, the entire planet is experiencing the very same thing. And it's forcing human beings, and we all do the same and feel the same. It's forcing us to reevaluate our existence. I mean, that's the biggest it's amazing in our lifetime that we're getting to do this.
It's crazy.
It really is. And I think there's going to be wonderful things. The economy is going to suffer. We're going to go through some tough times. It's going to be a few years of getting back on track. But on the other side of this is going to be a consciousness that I think we've never had, and certainly in our lifetime.
I hope you're right. As a I don't know if I'm a positivity guy or an optimist or realist or whatever, but you could very easily see. I call it like the 9/11 syndrome. Like,
Right.
And this is like our medical 9/11. When 9/11 happened, there was no Democratic or Republican. There was no us versus.
Nope.
We all knew what we wanted to stop. But then, 6 months later, a year later, it was like, whatever. And so my hope is that you're right, that we all realize we took a lot of shit for granted and we didn't really understand what gratitude was. And
right.
And then, it's just my big concern. And so I got a pseudo political question without getting political and wasting our time talking about that. If I called you up and I said, Frank, I just got off the phone with DC, they've now put you in charge of the world. Like, what would you do? Is there like if you're sitting around having a glass of wine with Bryan or going, those fuckers, they need to do like smart guys, Bryan's smart, you're smart. Well, if you were in charge now, what would you change? What would you do?
I am so common, and I am so of average intelligence. The thought of that alone gives me diarrhea. I have just not qualified in any way, shape, or form to even begin to understand what these human beings that are in charge of all these things go through. And it would be a dark day for the world if I was ever the guy that was. So what I would do is probably shoot myself in the face so the next guy would be responsible for it.
You pull out the script to the next Purge movie and go, let's go.
Yeah, somebody told me today that one of the news reporters had asked Governor Cuomo how he thought he was doing, or if he was doing a good job, and he simply said, "Next question." As if he had a handbook and or a guide. There was some kind of outline to follow this crazy thing that we're going through. And I look at a guy like that and I go, man, I don't know how he has the composure, he has the knowledge, the understanding. We're all educated guys. We all go to college. Whether you go to law school or not is irrelevant. But we're all smart. I just don't have the ability to think about large masses of people and how to serve them. I just don't. I don't have that ability. It's amazing. I'm amazed by it. I'm amazed even by Donald Trump. Because he's adult. He really is. He's proven to be a guy who says the stupidest things, who's obviously, not the most, he doesn't educate himself about all the problems that he's faced with. He just kind of shoots his mouth off. But even him, who the fuck could possibly imagine dealing with this?
Right.
Who's going to make all the right decisions? I don't know. Would Obama? No, of course not. Would George Bush Jr.? Yeah. No, none of them. We would be, and I would be remiss to say, oh yeah, Obama would be great, or Reagan would have been great, or Clinton would have handled this so much better. We're in deep, uncharted waters. We don't know. We're just trying to figure it out. So the short answer is, no, I could never even imagine.
That's I ask, so I've been doing like talks during COVID. I call them these COVID Candid talks, where I've been asking people, and I've never heard anybody so intellectually and lucidly deflect the answer. It was great. It was, a great answer, because the reality is everyone's guessing. The doctors are guessing. The
Everyone,
politicians are guessing
everyone,
because
everyone.
nobody knows.
Nope.
But the risk is, and the danger in my whole thing is like, look, the virus is real, the fear is
Yeah.
real, but is whatever the virus is, if that's 10x danger, is a worldwide economic collapse 100x?
And you know, I got to tell you something, brother. So we've been talking on the daily to these people who create these protocols in the Congo for the Ebola breakout. They're in the Sudan for 6 months. They're dealing with really devastating diseases. I mean, Ebola is when you see what that does to the human body, it's mind-boggling.
Right.
And these people go in there and they create protocols for how to kind of
Medical control, yeah.
You know, they're like, okay, this is very contagious. It's not as deadly as the media is kind of projecting it to be. It is serious. We feel very confident that we can create a protocol so business can continue. And as long as we follow the said protocol, we'll be okay. We'll be okay, which gave me a great sense of optimism to
Nice.
hear it from these people who have been around the world dealing with all these problems, to say to us that, yes, you know, and by the way, New York was hit hard, and I think Detroit was hit hard, Italy was hit hard, but it's not like that all over the place. It's not. It's kind of different in many, many different places.
Right.
And even in Sweden, they were beating up Sweden because Sweden didn't do the lockdown. 2,800 people died. Come to find out, like half of those people were in nursing homes. So it's the information which we already know, which is it does attack the elderly and the sickly, and we got to be careful. We got to protect those people.
Right.
But other than that, I think if we're responsible and we do the masks and we do the social distancing, you know, we need to go back to some semblance of a normal working life, because the economy, you know, I'm not an economist by any stretch, but the economy is not going to last. And what's coming the next couple of months is devastating. It's devastating.
Yeah. That's my big concern. I think we figured out what's going on with the, you know, from the virus point of view. It's been like what it did to Italy and Detroit and New York and stuff like that. You know, now we're starting to get like doctors saying, "Are you sure? Are you this?" The scientists are, you know.
Right.
So my big thing is, yeah, we need to, like you said, protect the people that have respiratory autoimmune issues.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's, you look at, you know, you can have 100 people in a Walmart, but we got to do mail-in voting. We got to have 100 people in a Walmart. But
I don't get it. I was just I went to Target. I took my kids to Target to get Legos because they need something to do, thinking it was going to be empty. It was like Christmas Eve. Like people were shopping for Christmas Eve. They were everywhere. People were everywhere, and kind of bumping into each other.
Right.
So I don't, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
It's crazy.
Let's talk. You still have family in New York?
My brother's in New York. My sister's in New York. My parents both passed away last year.
Okay.
A couple weeks apart from each other, so it was a tough year.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, and my brother, my sister are there, and my sister's upstate, so she's not really dealing with the brunt of it. My brother's in Brooklyn, so he's
How's he doing?
He's doing good. You know, he's got a big company, supplies speech pathologists to all the school districts. So his business has basically come to a standstill. There is an online presence, but it's 30% of what it was. Right. So like all of us, he's nervous and wondering when we're going to get back.
Right. Okay. Let's segue into and slip into something aside from your rules and movies and stuff like that, is your love for boxing. When did that start, man? Was that a New York thing?
My love for boxing started, I was probably about 13. Yeah. And I don't know why. I grew up wrestling. I was into martial arts on and off, and then found boxing. And I fell in love with the theory of boxing. And I wasn't interested in bashing people's heads in. I was interested in what boxing as a science was. To this day, I mean, I train every day. I train with 3 different Olympians and professional world class professionals. I train with Justin Fortune, who trains Pacquiao, simply because I am so intrigued by the science of boxing and what it takes to be at a level that is considered elite. And that's why I did the show Fight World, is because I love fighting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. And so you work out every day. Is it all right now? Is it all boxing? Like you said, you did martial arts. Is it just?
Right now it's we box every day. We do strength and conditioning. I got a whole setup in my garage. So I box, I'll do strength and conditioning at night. And primarily, even when I'm not, because jiu-jitsu is kind of rough on the face and stuff. So mostly it's boxing. I do a little Muay Thai and stuff in between there. But, I love what boxing does for me too, as far as, therapeutically. It's as much as a therapy session as it is a workout.
Right. I agree. The good old sweet science.
Yeah, man.
Who's your favorite boxer?
Ali.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's my favorite boxer for many reasons. I love many. I love Duran. I love Ray Leonard. I love I love Rocky Marciano for what he was during that time. But I got to go to I love Mexican boxing, and I got to go to Mexico and train with Nacho Beristain, who trained Juan Manuel Marquez and 25 other champions. And so I love that style. As more than a specific individual, I love the style of Mexican boxing.
Right. Just get in the pocket and bang.
Get in the pocket and you don't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some crazy stuff. We had some really good boxers in Montreal, which was not a mecca for boxing, but back in the 40s.
Yeah.
Like that. And I was telling this story recently, and I forget where, but I was a huge boxing fan. And on one of my trips to LA to do an interview for Martial Art Magazine, I found out that Sugar Ray Robinson had his foundation, and he was in his 80s at the time. And I went there one day, they would never answer the phone. I went there, they were open, secretary. And she said, hey, Mr. Robinson is in his 80s. We never know when he comes in. He comes in just to sign autographs. And I said, well, do you mind if I stay here? She goes, honestly, son, I was in my 20s, right? She says, honestly, son, you can, but he might not even come in today. So I said, it's okay. I'll read a book. I'll just sit here.
Right.
Because and Sugar Ray Robinson was back when I was training in Montreal, I would run all through the winter. My favorite was running in blizzards.
Right.
Because you couldn't hear anything. It was like
right.
pre-Bose headphones.
Yep.
And you couldn't even hear your footsteps on the snow. And I would run, but I'd come back and then I would watch fight tapes while I'd eat oatmeal and have my coffee. And because I was teaching 7 days a week, my martial arts school, right? So here I am, I'm in LA, interview with Black Belt Magazine, and I'm sitting in the office waiting, and 4 hours goes by, Frank. And all of a sudden the door, I'm sitting there and going, maybe I should go, like who? And the door opens and I see this old guy hunched over walk in, and holy shit, it's Sugar Ray Robinson. And I got goosebumps right now just thinking about it.
Yeah, I got goosebumps.
And dude, he was like, oh my God, like Sugar Ray was named after him, right? And he was the combination of he was before Ali's time, but he was like a little bit Ali and a little bit of the Mexican boxers, right? He would hit you on the outside, but he'd also, if he had a killer instinct, if he saw you were hurt, he'd step right in there. And
the great thing about Sugar Ray Robinson is he was angling when nobody was angling.
Right.
So he kind of created that style. Yes. That almost that modern style. And he understood, talk about the sweet science. He understood where he should be.
Right.
All the time. And he was always testing his opponents to see where, if the guy dropped his elbow a little on the left, he knew where to position himself.
Yeah.
It was amazing. He's beautiful to watch.
Yeah. So get this. That's the first half of the story. His secretary is prepping me, going, he just signed. I'll get you an autograph, you know. And so she goes in, and I stand up and I say, can I get a photo with him? She goes, he doesn't really do that. I'll get a picture signed. And he overhears this in the hallway, because I kind of went up to the door, and he's he's in his 80s, and he's been hitting the head a bunch, and he's right. And get this, he goes, come in here. So I come in, I'm like freaking out. I go, sir, I don't bother you. I just want, like, you're like my favorite boxer. Got to get a photo. So he's like, yeah. He goes, where are you from, kid? I go, Montreal, Canada. He goes, Montreal. He goes, I fought there. And he starts telling the story. As soon as he started talking about boxing, he was completely lucid.
Yep.
We talked for a fucking hour in his room, just boxing. I was freaking out. I couldn't believe it. I was pinching myself like, I'm having a conversation with Sugar Ray Robinson.
Sugar Ray Robinson. Oh my God.
Dude.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I
know. Look, you're like me. You know, even we were up at Sly's house watching a fucking football fight, the Canelo fight. And I'm sitting next to fucking Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yep.
And on the TV, they start talking about Ray Leonard when he fought Tommy Hearns.
Right.
And I look at him, I go, do you remember that? I'm sitting next to Ray, and he goes, not only do I remember that, I remember what I was thinking. And he said, going back to Ali, he goes, Ali was in the audience. Ali was sitting front row, and he saw Ali. And he said, all I kept thinking was, because he said, wow, Tommy Hearns is a tough guy to fight. He said, what would Ali do? And he said, Ali would move. Ali would move. Ali would move. And I went, are you kidding me? You remember that? And he goes, it's so clear, because every fight I was so afraid in the beginning. And I tried to figure out how somebody else would fight this guy. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Sugar Ray Leonard is telling me. So it's the same. It's so I get it. Yeah.
Dude, when years ago, you of course know Ringside Boxing Products. So I was friends with John Brown. He doesn't own it anymore, but he used to own Ringside. And I was trying to get some equipment that I designed for combatives. I was trying to find a manufacturer. So he was one of the guys I talked to. We started yakking. I ended up helping them redesign their face saver, which do you ever box with a face saver, the piece that comes around?
Yeah, it's hard for me. I like to box without it because I can't see. I can't.
Just thinking as an actor, like you can't afford to get your nose.
Bro, the movies I do, I can look as fucked up as I want.
This is true. This is true. So I'm down there on a business trip trying to design some shit, and he goes, "Hey, I think I might have the next great white heavyweight," and he introduced me to Tommy Morrison,
and he was.
And he says to me, he goes, "Why don't you get in the ring and do some stuff with him?" I'm like, dude, I'm 188 pounds. Tommy's like 230 or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. And a special fighter.
Yeah. His left hook. And
a special fighter.
Yeah. So I ended up becoming friends with Tommy, friends with John, our relationship. And then when Tommy got Rocky V, they sent me to Rocky V. And I was hanging out on the set and got to spend some time with Stallone. And so I got to tell you that what you just told me with Sugar Ray Leonard, I got a Stallone story like that. I got a gym with a boxing ring, 10 bags, all this shit. And what's crazy is so many crazy stories. Let me know if you run out of time. No. You remember, dude, you got to be a Robert Conrad fan.
Oh, I love him.
Wild Wild West. So back in the 80s, I was doing stunt work in Montreal when I had my gym. And so I hear Robert Conrad, who's 5'8.5", I'm 5'8.5", is coming to Montreal to do some movie. And my agent goes, like, you're the right height, come in and we'll get you a role on the set. Maybe you'll do some stunt work. So I had spent time with Sugar Leonard fought Roberto Duran in Montreal. Yeah. I hung out with Sugar Ray for 2 weeks. I found a way to get into the camp, and I hung out with them. When we get together next time, I'll tell you all these stories because I don't know if anyone's interested in this talk. They are, but I spent time with him, and he gave me, remember the Sugar Ray Leonard boxing shirts and sweat?
Yeah. Yeah.
He gave me all that shit. So it was my prized possession. And I knew that Conrad was a semi-pro boxer, into martial arts, loved boxing. So the first day on the set, I wear a shirt that you can't buy anywhere. You can only get it if you're part of the Leonard.
Yeah.
So I walk on the set wearing the Sugar Ray Leonard thing, and I see Robert Conrad. And I grew up in the 60s watching the fucking Wild Wild West. He's like one of my idols.
Oh, he's a badass, man.
Right?
Original badass.
Right. So I've had 3 like iconic male influences in my life: Robert Conrad, Bruce Lee, and Stallone in Rocky. I was 16 when Rocky came out, right? 76. So I see him looking over at my shirt over and over again. So I walk over to, he's getting at the, like, you know, the concession thing. He's getting a coffee, whatever. I walk over pretending to get something to be close. He goes, couldn't help but notice your shirt. And he goes, yeah, I guess Sugar Ray gave it to me. He goes, And I look at him and I go, I have a boxing ring and 10 bags. I have a private gym. He says, it's your gym? He says, yeah. He says, I'll see you at 6 a.m. And he came in and he worked out at my gym every morning while he was on, before set. He'd come in and we trained. We got to know each other. I saw him for years. I saw him up in Big Bear. And here's the interesting thing. In the 80s, he said, you know, he had his own production company. And I said, I'd love to be in movies and like action. He said, move. And I was too scared. I just was so afraid.
Right.
You know, like, am I like, who the hell am I? He said, I'll get you a job. You can. And I never did it, but we stayed in touch. And one night we're at a restaurant where Boa opened up on Beverly Hills Boulevard. It used to be. I'm sitting there with Robert, with Conrad. We're having dinner, just him and I. He was living in a hotel right around the corner. And Mannix walks in. I forget his name. Who's the actor that played
Mike somebody.
Mike Connors.
Mike Connors.
Right. So Mike Connors walks in and he goes and he interrupts. Like, he looks at me, and this is the tail thing. You know how like actors will look to see if they know you?
Right.
He looks over, he sees Bob, he looks at me, he goes, I don't fucking know this guy. So he interrupts and he starts talking. And Bob was so down to earth because, you know his background. He was the stuntman without a break. And he goes, he interrupts Connors. He goes, this is my friend Tony visiting me. He goes, oh, hi, Tony. And then he goes back. He's just totally confused. But it was so, I'm sitting there watching, okay, here's Robert Conrad. Here's
Mannix. They're trying to figure it out.
But dude, so I'm on the set of Rocky. And I want to get a poster. I haven't really met Stallone at all yet. I've just seen him. They know me as the guy that Ringside sent to train Tommy in between sets. So I do pads and road work and make sure he just kept his real pro boxing stuff going. And so I'm outside Stallone's trailer, and he's got 2 burly security guys out the front there. And I go, and I got a pass, like I'm not an extra, right? Where people, you know, move on, peasant, right? You know, like I got this all access, and I'm trying to find a way to bump into Stallone. All I want to get is a fucking poster from Stallone. And so I go, hey, do you know when Mr. Stallone will be out? He goes, no, is there anything we can help you with? I said, I just want to speak to you about something. Yeah, that's not going to happen, dude. And just while they're doing that, the door opens and Stallone starts to come out, right? And he recognizes me, not as a guy trying to get in the movies, but as the guy that Ringside sent.
Right.
So he connects to me as a fighter.
Right.
He goes, Tony, right? I go, yeah. I go, sir, I got a gym, and I would love like just a picture. Just Tony's boys keep training, something. And he goes, yeah, come in here. You should have seen his 2 security guys, like.
Oh, I know, I've seen him.
Right. Like sneering at me and I'm talking. This is like Rocky 5, so I'm sure he has new. But I go in there, and I'm in there for an hour. We're just talking about boxing. We're talking about I tell him the Sugar Ray Robinson story. I'm telling him like all the shit.
He loves it. It's his life. Yeah.
We're shadow boxing and going over shit and everything. And I'm sitting there, Frank, going, holy shit. This is, it blows my mind. Anyways.
I know. I know.
All of this is sweet science. This is all.
Oh, I know.
Hits you.
That's the connection. Listen, not to bore you, but to me, that whole thing, that brotherhood of boxing, that brotherhood of fighting, is far more powerful than Hollywood acting. Who's rich, who's poor. I always say it's the great equalizer. When you are part of the community of fighters, specifically boxing. Again, this is why I did the show, Fight World.
Right.
It transcends race, religion, color, economic background. You're brothers because it's about the fight. It's about the boxing.
Yeah.
And I go to Sly's house, and it's me, it's my partner, it's Pacino, it's Michael Strahan, it's Bill Burr, it's people from all walks of the business. But guess what they love? They all love fighting.
Yeah.
And that's what you talk about.
There's something so emancipating in there, in that one year when I was really exploring boxing, I went down to I was in New York, and I said I got to go to Gleason's. I've never been there. Like, that's the Mecca. Dundee's gym in Florida had been closed for years, so I was go to Gleason's, and I went in there as a martial artist, and I said to the manager, I said, I box up in Montreal, but people know me in Montreal, so I can't just spar with people, because it's like, oh, there's that asshole martial artist. Everyone was trying to gun for me because I was well known. I said, I want to box somebody who's really good, but doesn't know who I am, because I want to get a sense of that, where he's not going to try to be cute or cheat.
Right.
Me. I said, but I'm not an asshole, and I'm a martial artist who loves boxing.
Right.
So I need you to don't pick somebody who's going to just light me up. And, but in the back of my head, Frank, and I tell this to you and everyone listening to this, you're an actor, so you believe in your talent. As afraid as you might have been back in the day on an audition early in your career, or even in the ring with somebody, there's that performance anxiety. You want to do good, but you believe in yourself.
Right.
And we oftentimes, if you've got a positive ego that makes you do good things in life, you want to believe you're better than you actually think you are right now. I've got this potential.
Right.
In the back of my head, I'm going, I wonder if I'm a better boxer than I think I am. And so I'm in the ring with this guy who, I forget his name now, but he was like ranked number 6 in the world, middleweight. And I'm moving around, and I was back in the day very fucking fast, very explosive, but I had more of a martial art frame. I didn't, even as much as I love boxing. And I used to teach 30 privates a week, plus, group classes. And I developed some bad habits that I learned. Of
course. Yeah.
But I learned them very quickly at Gleason's, because I got to tell you this story. I'm in front of this guy, and we're moving around here like this. And he's here, and he's just moving, he's following me. And I go, whack, and I fire this jab, and I hit him right in the face, clean. And I'm like thinking to myself, that was fucking easier than I thought. Like, I just fucking hit that guy. He didn't fucking move. And so I'm thinking, my ego, I'm thinking, you're laughing, you know where this is going already.
I know it's going.
I'm thinking, maybe I'm better than I fucking thought I was. And I step in again, and I fire this jab. And as the jab is coming back, all I see is his shoulders start to move. Yeah. And he saw one punch, triangulated on it, fucking hit me up, busted my nose, flash knockout. Like, I came to like Jake LaMotta holding on to Robinson.
Bro, I've seen it happen 1,000 times in gyms. It's going to happen. It's Bryan Callen. Brian,
right?
Oh, I love. He throws one good punch, and it's like, brother,
starts to gloat a little bit.
I just saw 40 problems with the one, and he's just so excited that he got the one punch. Right. And it's like, well, the next punch is not going to be you. It's going to be me, and that's going to be at the end of this.
Right.
But I know. We joke about it all the time, but I know because I'm always training with pros. I mean, some really, Brian Valeria, Jose Navarro, these are Olympians. These are 4-time world champions. And you get in, you start moving around, and one thing leads to another, and there's a body shot. I'm like, oh, fucking, I could have been an Olympian. Bop, 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 bop. And then the next thing you know, it's like a beehive that's just been opened. And I got hit 16 times. And you go, okay, got it. I got it.
It's so funny. My experience there turned into something in all my seminars that I do where I tell people, because I mostly work with guys who are, martial arts, self-defense experts. And I tell them, one time in your life, you need to get in the ring with somebody who knows how to box and just try and do 3 rounds.
Yeah.
The fucking scariest thing you've ever done. And
Yeah.
it'll give you so much more respect for what it is to understand how to throw a punch from your feet through the ground, because only boxers know to do that. No one else.
That's right. That's right. Listen, my son, who's right there, he's 23 now. I brought him into the gym, Mendez Boxing, back in when he was 11, and he was reluctant, and he was a little chubby kid, and he was the only white guy. Me and him were the only 2 white guys in there, and there was all old, badass pros, badass guys, like not elite fighters, but they were badass.
Right.
And they took him under his wing.
Nice.
He's been boxing since he's 11. Now he's 23. He had a couple of smokers. He's fought, but I see the way he walks through the world with respect for everyone and caution, but no fear of being able to get himself out of something, right? So, and that's, to me, that's equally as important as far as boxing and martial arts is concerned, as is, the sport itself, is what it does for you, both men and women, girls and boys, what it does for you internally and how you occupy the planet. And I think if the world was filled with more martial artists and fighters, it would be a safer place.
Right.
You know, there'd be less violence.
If you do it right, it penetrates the ego. And it's interesting because one of the questions I had for you is, how has boxing helped you in life, metaphorically? And you've answered it in a bunch of ways, but let's have an official answer. I mean,
you talk about ego. I say ego stands for edge God out, right? Because whenever ego is present, whatever higher being there is isn't present, because it's about you, right? And the boxing for me has made me a better man, a more secure human being, a better friend, a better father, a more disciplined person, a less frightened person, more willing to help. The problem I think with humanity is bystander apathy. Is if you see someone else in trouble, let the next guy handle it, which is why I love the Israelis. As a culture, they have been trained and taught to take care of each other. If they see something, they get involved. And so for me, that's how I live my life. And it's because of fighting. It's because of boxing. I also know that I can go anywhere in the world and walk into any gym. And you know this. I could walk into any gym, whether they recognize me or not. And in 15 minutes, they will come up to me and we become friends because they see I know what I'm doing. Right. And through that, I have made some of the best relationships in my life. And that's how boxing and martial arts has influenced my life.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Kingdom was one of my favorite shows.
I got to go get my kids.
Yeah.
I got to go pick up my kids, unfortunately.
We'll do a part 2 one day, maybe in person.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I would love to. I'm around, man, but I would love to keep talking to you. I could talk to you all day.
We'll do more. Any final message to your fans?
Just everyone stay healthy and persevere through all this. It's going to be better. Like I said earlier, I think it'll be better. I think we're all going to be more evolved and more conscious and aware of each other and ourselves. So just hang tough.
Okay, buddy. Be safe. Right, Thanks for making the time for me.
Be well.
Take care. Bye.
Peace.